not, your relationships can affect your walk with Yah. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 2, the Torah portion, Emor. We're still in Leviticus or V'ikra, chapter 21, beginning today with verse number 4, and reading on. It says, "A leader does not defile himself among his people to profane himself. They do not make any bald place on their heads, and they do not shave the corner of their beard, and they do not make a cutting in their flesh. They are set apart to their Elohim, and do not profane the name of their Elohim, for they bring," number 1, "the fire offerings," that is the korbanot, the offerings that are placed on the altar in the courtyard. "They bring the fire offerings of Yahweh and the bread of their Elohim, and shall be set apart." So, 2 things. They bring the fire offerings, and secondly, the bread. Verse 7 says, "They do not take a woman who is a whore or a defiled woman, and they do not take a woman put away from her husband, for he is set apart to his Elohim." Relationships. Both those that have passed and those that are current. When it comes to dealing with the dead, there is a grieving process. It's very natural, very reasonable, very understandable. When one's family member especially passes away, someone very close to you, it is emotionally, mentally, physically even devastating. Yah allows for us to process that. However, he says to us basically, do not mourn the dead in the methodologies of the pagan nations that are around you, who would resort to cutting themselves and bleeding, maybe even cutting off a digit from one of their hands, shaping their beards in a deformed fashion, getting tattoos for the dead, a number of things that he says, that's the way they do it. Don't do it that way. Don't mar your body for those that have passed away. There's a couple things here. One is that the reason that we don't mourn the dead the way the pagan nations around us mourn their dead is that we have a different future. We have a hope of a resurrection, or of the resurrection. We believe that life exists beyond the grave. And therefore, while we mourn the loss of someone being close to us and we grieve their absence, we are indeed comforted a bit by the realization, in our belief, that we will see them again. No, I don't believe that my dad is looking down from heaven on me and smiling at me. I don't believe that they are aware of anything going on in this current world and its happenings. But I have a strong belief that I will see my Father again here on this earth in a resurrected form, in a resurrected body, and that we will rejoice together, prayerfully, hopefully, in the land. So because I don't share the finality of a pagan afterworld, which oftentimes is believed to be a dark and foreboding place, my hope of life beyond death is that of light and life and a greatly enhanced and increased living. Therefore, I don't need to put pain in my body or disfigurement in my body because I believe that my current world has become disfigured, or that my afterworld is disfigured. And then we go on to the relationship of marriage. Believe it or not, marriage affects your spiritual walk and relationship with your Creator, either positively or negatively, and sometimes it vacillates from one side to the other. We are humans after all. And we marry human beings. The thing is, our spouse has married a human being too. Look in the mirror. And so we realize then that that the way that we marry or marry into a relationship can have a great deal of effect about how that we walk. When a husband and wife are bickering, fussing, fighting, snippy with one another, the words that we're throwing out toward one another are oftentimes only symbolic of what's the real issue. And we need to have that moment where we sit down and try to talk it out and reason it out and understand if we're going to have harmony in our home, then we got to fix this. In the American agenda of marriage, it's about determining who's right and who's wrong. Well, that oftentimes leads to further division. We're trying to find the common ground and grow together. For us to marry a spouse that has been previously married or lives in a defiled fashion is to bring about challenges beyond the normal challenges of a marriage. It's not to say that Yah cannot redeem that which is dysfunctional. He most certainly can. It takes work. It takes repentance. It takes harmony. It takes yielding. It takes humility. It takes a lot of forgiveness. It takes work. When we bring previous other relationship baggage into a marriage, I don't have to explain this to anyone who has experienced that. You know, it's a problem. And it takes a lot of effort and work to get through all of that and come to a place that is much more fruit-bearing. And so with the high priest here, especially, but with all of the priesthood, Yah is saying, don't put yourself at the disadvantage where you're walking through my presence, seeking to minister to me, and you're liable to be, or frequently liable to be, on the outs with your spouse and having problems at home, because problems at home affect your life everywhere else. It's just the way it is. So let's go over to the book of 1 Corinthians. And in chapter number 10, beginning with verse 18, we read these words. Look at Israel after the flesh, or not those who eat of the slaughterings, sharers in the slaughter place. If you eat of the offerings that come from the altar, then you are a priest or a part of the priestly family or household. What do I say? That an idol is of any value, or that which is slaughtered to idols is of any value? No. But what the nations slaughter, they slaughter to demons and not to Elohim, and I do not wish you to become sharers with demons. You are not able to drink of the cup of the master and the cup of demons. You're not able to partake of the table of the master and of the table of demons. Now we understand that when a priest is officiating in the environment of the altar, placing meat on the altar and then receiving a portion back to take home to his family and to feed his family with it, they become those who sit at the king's table. Therefore, those who eat at the king's table have to observe a stricter protocol than those who eat at a common table in the home. Also, we would understand then that you would be considered as family members of the king, as this would apply to our walk with Messiah. When we come to him, we are to be seated at his table, and we're eating of the benefit of the sacrifice of his table. That is, we're claiming the atoning work of Yeshua, the Messiah, on our behalf. It says that they also bring the bread to the table of showbread. And it's important for us to understand that the word of Yah, represented by the bread, is that which feeds the spirit. We can't be feeding our spirit from two different grocery store aisles, one of demonism and one of righteousness. We're going to pick up here tomorrow. We'll take this further. Until then, shalom.